Guyana's agro-energy sector has been achieving positive results and great interest from foreign investors.
Despite mounting opposition, Antigua's Prime Minister Baldwin Spencer is optimistic that Guyana will join CARIFORUM countries in the signing of the controversial EPA on October 15, but the Jagdeo administration remains steadfast.
And the World Health Organization is now urging countries to ensure safe feeding of infants following the discovery of melamine-contaminated milk in China.
The details of these and other stories, GNA News, and of course the latest sporting action in the Diamond, Mineral Water and NCN Sport News and more after these messages. Good evening, I'm Delicia Fletcher.
And I'm Paul Moore.
With this edition of the 6 o'clock news for today, Tuesday, October 7, 2008. Here's what's happening, Paul.
Thanks, Delicia. Agriculture Minister Robert Persaud says Guyana's agro-energy sector has been achieving positive results and great interest from foreign investors. During his upcoming visit to Brazil for the International Biofuels Conference, the minister is expected to engage with the Brazilian government on areas of cooperation in this vibrant enterprise. More in this report.
Agriculture Minister Robert Persaud says there has been active interaction with potential investors in the agro-energy sector. He notes that government will soon be entering into a memorandum of understanding with two large investors to get the process underway.
There are a number of other proposals which are under consideration. The policy and the approach that we've taken is that those proposals which are very feasible and early for implementation, those are the ones that will be given due recognition.
However, Minister Persaud says although investors have been showing interest, they have to comply with Guyana's agro-energy policy guidelines. These guidelines stipulate that food will not be utilized for energy purposes, but instead some 200,000 acres will be used for biofuel production. Minister Persaud has also mentioned a recent technical agreement with the IDB, which will boost government's institutional capacity to manage the sector. And while government is placing emphasis on agro-energy, the agriculture minister says it is not pursuing this blindly. He notes that equal attention is being given to the international debate on the actual role of biofuels.
So our approach is one in which is very studied, very careful, and one in which we are taking to ensure that we do not make the errors of others. And that is where our collaboration with Brazil too is important in this regard. Because I think that the Brazilian model in the main has generally been a very positive one.
Meanwhile, the Brazilian model on agro-energy is currently being assessed. Minister Persaud says he is hoping to engage the Brazilian government and deepen cooperation in this sector during his upcoming visit to Brazil next month. Among his plans are also to network and engage with potential investors and see how biofuel operations are undertaken in that country.
It will be both an activity or an exercise to enlarge cooperation, but at the same time learning much more about the biofuels or the agro-energy sector in one of the world's leaders in this area.
Reporting for the 6 o'clock news, I'm Shar Dalal.
CARICOM Chairman Baldwin Spencer on Monday confirmed that the signing ceremony for the new economic partnership agreement with Europe will go ahead next week as planned, while expressing hope that Guyana may take part in the process. With the EPA signing already set for October 15, Spencer disclosed that efforts were continuing to ensure that the Barra Jagdeo administration joins with other regional states in penning its signature to the controversial trade document. Here are details.
CARICOM's chairman Baldwin Spencer expressed his optimism that Guyana will sign a full economic partnership agreement come October 15, the official date set by regional leaders to initial a full trade deal with the European Union. The Caribbean Media Corporation quoted Spencer saying, "I think there are some maneuverings which may very well lead to Guyana signing on the 15th. When asked to comment on a final decision deadline, Mr. Spencer said that would become clearer in the next day or two. The new arrangement will govern future trade deals between the European Union and the regional grouping known as CARIFORUM, which includes CARICOM and the Dominican Republic. But so far it has failed to meet the approval of the Guyana government, which favors a goods-only accord. But government sources say Guyana will maintain its position, banking on the recent move by the ACP heads to call for a review. Both President Barra Jagdeo and Cabinet Secretary Dr. Roger Luncheon said in the past that the outcome of the ACP summit will influence Guyana's position. Favorably, the ACP heads at their just concluded summit decided to take a similar position as President Jagdeo and call for a review of the trade pact with the EU. The heads, in a statement at the end of the four-day meeting on Friday last, said they were concerned that undue pressure was placed on some members to sign the EPA before legitimate concerns were adequately addressed. However, Spencer said the likelihood exists that Georgetown could be among the list of Bridgetown signatories, even though he did not provide any details as to the conditions under which President Jagdeo would sign. Edward Lane, the 6 o'clock news.
The newly appointed inquiry committee, which was established by Agriculture Minister Robert Pussat to assess factors affecting productivity at the East Demerara Sugar Estates, held its first official meeting today. Shardalal was there and filed this report.
And has expressed great concern over the current state of production at the East Demerara Sugar Estates, and following a visit to the LBI and Enmore Estates on Friday, Agriculture Minister Robert Pussat appointed a special committee to give a proper assessment of the situation. Permanent Secretary of the Agriculture Ministry, Dr. Dindial Pamal, says the inquiry will entail an assessment of the field operations and other factors which hinge on productivity.
The main objective of the inquiry is to review all aspects of field operations within Gaisuko's East Demerara Estates, and the scope of the inquiry would include all aspects of sugarcane growth in the fields, including sugarcane agronomy, land preparation, water management, maintenance of field infrastructure, and so on.
The Permanent Secretary says the results from this assessment will determine the extent of the decline in production and government's course of action. Meanwhile, Chairman of the committee, Vic Udit, says it is going to be an interesting experience to engage both Gaisuko and Gao on the current situation.
We're going into this exercise with no preconceived notions. We're here not to do a hatchet job. We're here not to set up to cast blame on any group, any individual, any persons involved in the industry.
Udit alludes to the fact that the estates are capable of producing greater yields and has pledged to get to the bottom of the current situation. Results of the findings are expected to be submitted to Agriculture Minister Robert Pussat within a 5-week time period. Reporting for the 6 o'clock news, I'm Shardalal.
The World Health Organization is urging countries to ensure safe feeding of infants following the discovery of melamine-contaminated milk in China. The WHO Food Safety Department Director, Dr. Horgen Schlunt, says it is critical to ensure supply of safe powdered infant formula for those not breastfed. The director says at this time, countries should invest in strengthening their food control and foodborne disease surveillance systems. Guyana's Food and Drug Analyst Department has since recalled a product sold as milky evaporated milk identified as possibly contaminated with melamine. Global food and fuel prices and its effects on Commonwealth nations was a major focus at the Commonwealth Finance Ministers meeting in St. Lucia. The meeting, at which Guyana is represented by Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh, opened yesterday and places heavy emphasis on the economic turmoil in the world. Edward Lane reports.
Commonwealth Finance Ministers started their annual meeting in the Caribbean island of St. Lucia on October 6 with a call to draw on their diverse experiences and perspective to address current global economic problems. Speaking at the opening ceremony in Castries, Commonwealth Secretary General Kamlesh Sharma said that within the association's membership, there is an example of just about every economic phenomenon. Sharma urged the group to ask themselves what have Commonwealth Finance Ministers offered to each other and to the world, and to ponder on the answers. The Commonwealth Secretary General drew attention to the track record of Commonwealth Finance Ministers, which boasts a number of key initiatives that eventually received international recognition. He cited the bilateral and multilateral debt relief initiatives, which initially seemed like hearsay but later became orthodox. Mr. Sharma added that the Commonwealth breaks down silos of different regions and income levels and allows policy analysis and understanding to spread globally. Meanwhile, St. Lucia's Prime Minister Stephen King said his country supports the Commonwealth initiative on reform of the World Bank and IMF to make them more relevant. Mr. King, who also holds the Minister of Finance portfolio in his country, said he looks forward to a discussion on the reform process and to the specific contributions ministers will bring to the debate. The meeting, at which Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh is expected to make presentations, will wrap up on October 8. Edward Lane, the 6 o'clock news.